This is MRN Out Loud on MRN.com, presented by Bloomin' Mondays at Outback Steakhouse. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse, comes your way. Joey Meyer on special assignment. I'm Woody Kane. We got a very special guest in the studio with us today, Doug Yates from Roush-Yates Engines. Easy for me to say, and thrilled to have you here, and especially coming off another big Ford win, third for Keselowski.
Yeah, Woody, thanks for having me on today. And it was a great weekend in Kansas. You know, I mean, it's great to see Brad win at the end. I mean, he is the ultimate guy. If you had to put one guy up front at the end of the race and get it done, Brad Keselowski is that guy. But to get the win, our fourth of the season, and with this new package, which was an incredible race Saturday night, I really think the fans were entertained. I know we were happy to come away with the win with our Ford Performance Mustang. But it all started on Friday afternoon, and qualifying for the Stewart-Haas guys was really impressive. And
rockets.
Yeah, to qualify first through fourth, and for Kevin Harvick to be on the pole and have a super fast car in the race, along with his teammates, Clint Boyer and Eric Almirola and Daniel Suarez. It was a great start to the weekend. Overall, just a great weekend for our Ford Mustangs.
You mentioned Kevin Harvick, and unfortunately, we have to tell the folks that Kevin Harvick didn't get a top 10 finish, so little Joey's sad. No Bloomin' Onion or free Bloomin' Onion at Outback Steakhouse. You can still go get one all you want, but they won't be doing the free one this week. Kevin has to get a top 10, and he has done that so many times. It's crazy. I cannot believe that a car from Stewart-Haas Racing has not gone to victory lane yet. They've been fast. It's just hasn't gone their way at the end.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, they've had some really fast cars, and last year they set a super high bar. You know, I mean, winning 5 races by this time of the year is just something that doesn't happen all the time. And Kevin even said that last year. Kevin and Rodney knew that it was a special season, and they were really on it. And everything changed this year. It's a brand new package for the 1.5 mile track. So there's a big learning curve, but to see the results of Kansas qualifying, and really Kevin had the best car in the race. You know, we had that tear off on the front and grill, and really couldn't understand what was going on, but it was getting ready to get hot, and came down pit road and pitted. And once you get in the back with this package, it was a tough field, hard to pass. And
the restarts were insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Restarts were incredible. And I think, it's just good to see. Kudos to NASCAR and Steve O'Donnell and Steve Phelps and everybody there for making these changes. And what Marcus Smith did last year, it really started at the All-Star race last year, right? When we ran a restrictor plate engine with more downforce and saw a very competitive race, one that Kevin Harvick won. And
yeah, how about that? Good is still good, even if you change the package.
Exactly. But I think it's a good thing for the sport. And, we are here. We are competitors. What I love about NASCAR is to be able to compete, to build race-winning engines, to give Ford Performance an advantage with engines and work with our teams. But we're also here to entertain our fans.
Yeah.
And I think Saturday night at Kansas was just that. I mean, it was exciting. Competition was high. At the end of the day, a great driver and a great team still won. But there's a lot of guys that could have won that race. And Ricky Stenhouse was up there for a little while.
Yeah, he was. He's been fast quite a few times this year.
He has. And I texted Jack Roush yesterday, my partner, just to see how he's doing, check in, tell him great run. He said, man, he was excited. You could tell by the tone of his text.
Yeah.
And that's what we do these days, right? We text.
Yeah.
And he said he can't wait to get to work this week and see what they did right, see what they need to improve upon, and try to get Roush Fenway back in victory lane, which I think with the addition of Ryan Newman this year, it's really been giving the team a spark, and I know they're looking forward to more races.
The All-Star race is going to be a little bit different. We'll talk about that as well on the program, but I wanted to hear from Brad Keselowski. We got a clip from him after the win about where he thinks they are with that new package so far this season after his victory at Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like in practice it was much more intense than a normal practice here. The cars undoubtedly are easier to drive by themselves than they used to be, but the demands of being able to run in the pack are very, very high, very strenuous. Your peripheral vision gets tested, all those things, your proprioception, to know where you're at in space and be able to make all the right moves. It really challenges you both mentally and physically in a different way than before. Physically, I felt like, especially last week, this has been way more challenging physically. Because the cars are going so fast through the corner. And, I got out of the car last week and I felt like I was 3 inches shorter, just from all the G-forces. And I went and tested in Chicago, and I thought it was just me, and then Ryan Newman came up to me and explained the same thing. I was like, you too? Yeah, me too. And then saw about 3 or 4 other drivers, and they all said the same thing. Like, man, I have never, ever felt that beat in the race car before. And this was a more physically challenging race than I can remember here, just because of those increased loads. But that's part of the game.
It was interesting. He mentioned Dover the week before, and everybody went in talking about how fast those corner speeds were going to be, and it visually popped off the screen at you when you watched because of the way the camera was moving so quickly. It didn't jump off the screen at you as much at Kansas, but at Dover, it really did.
Yeah, Dover. I mean, we were 4 miles an hour faster than qualifying last year. It's amazing. And Dover is one of those tracks. I mean, that's a man's racetrack. When you're standing there on that front straightaway.
Even under the old system, yeah.
Under the old system, you see them go down into turn 1, and now you're going that much faster. I mean, it was amazing. And I think that it's tested the drivers. Obviously, you can see Brad he looked worn out, and the guy to his left, Paul Wolf, he looked tired.
He wasn't saying anything. Yeah, he looked like he was ready to be done with all that. But yeah, he's a cool guy to talk to as well. Listen, we got a great program coming up for you on MRN Out Loud. We're going to talk with Doug Yates from Roush-Yates Engines about matching this engine up with the new package and what might be ahead, as well as the scope of the company. You might be surprised at all the things they're involved in. It's all ahead on MRN Out Loud. Stay with us.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Hey guys, it's Dylan Welch. He's Tyler Burnett. We're the co-hosts of the Rip the Fence podcast. If you like traditional non-wing dirt track racing, we've got the podcast for you.
Shane Meal trying to drive away.
I can't do everything, but I could do anything and everything I wanted before I got injured. So
just like many of the great podcasts going, we invite racers in to talk, and they tell us their life story.
And it's how I feel that matters.
It's the Rip the Fence podcast, available on MRN.com and your favorite podcast app.
Before you know it, we'll be crowning the 2019 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion in Miami. You need to be there to witness Ford Championship Weekend, November 15th through the 17th at Homestead Miami Speedway. 3 days, 3 races, 3 NASCAR champions.
What a year for Joey Logano, and he caps it off with a win at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Pick out the best seats in the house for the pinnacle race of the 2019 NASCAR season in South Florida. Call 866-409-7223. That's 866-409-RACE.
Back on MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Our special guest on the program, Doug Yates from Roush-Yates Engines, after their 4th win for the Fords this season and 6 poles to go along with it. You guys have made the speed, but I wanted to back up a little bit. I saw a tweet earlier this month from you guys where that particular weekend, your engines were powering 24 teams around the world, and I had no idea the scope of the organization. So give us an idea of what all you guys are into right now.
Yeah, well, our social media team's doing a good job, obviously, trying to make people aware of all the things we do for Ford Performance. You know, it really starts with Edsel Ford and his vision for Ford racing and Ford Performance. And we do, obviously, the NASCAR Cup and Xfinity. We also do the Ford GTs.
Those are cool-looking cars.
It was an amazing program. So, years ago, 50-plus years ago now, Edsel Ford and his dad, Henry II, went over to Le Mans and beat Ferrari.
Yeah.
Infamous win, 1966, and they decided that they wanted to go back and do that in 2016. So a couple of years before that, we started that program with Chip Ganassi. That engine is a Ford EcoBoost engine that you find in your Ford Explorer, Navigator, out on the street, production engine. They wanted to take that and go back to Le Mans and prove that they could do it all over again. And they asked us to build the engines, Chip Ganassi to build the race cars, and to field the teams with great drivers, and Multimatic to build the chassis. So we went back to Le Mans and on our first time won it again 50 years later, and Edsel was there, and Bill Ford and the Ford family was there, and we were really proud to be part of that.
But you were not able to go, right? But you are this year?
I was not able to go that year, but I'm going to go this year and can't wait to get over there and see that.
Yeah, that's a bucket list item for sure.
It's like our Daytona 500.
Yeah.
You know, Le Mans, 24-hour Le Mans.
Yeah.
The best cars and teams in the world line up and try to run an endurance race and see who the fastest is and the most endurance cars, and we won that. And hopefully we'll do that again this year. We also race in the WEC series, you know, so we race in the IMSA series, Jim Francis series with that same 4GT. We race over in Europe with that 4GT, places like Shanghai. Just, you know, incredible series. And we also do the Ford Mustangs here in the States as well as Europe. So we race all over the world. We're really proud to be associated with Ford Performance, and Edsel is a great supporter of ours and Ford Racing and the Ford family. So we're really proud to be part of that.
I think I read as well that you've pushed up on about 200 employees now. Did you ever imagine it was going to be this big?
No, and when I graduated college in 1990, I went to NC State, graduated, came right back to work, and we had one car. Davey Allison was our driver, Robert Yates Racing. You know, we had 3 or 4 people in the engine shop and and a handful working on the cars, and we were all right there in one shop. So when we got finished working on the engines, we'd work on the cars, paint the cars, and nobody left the shop until we put the tailgate down on the truck. We all drove to the track. Pitted the race car, drove back home, started all over again. And today we build every engine for Ford Motor Company and NASCAR, and we are doing a lot of manufacturing in our company now. So we have an advanced manufacturing facility where we do aerospace, Department of Defense, and other types of work. So that's something that's growing, and really it's just taking the skill sets that we developed through the years. We bought our first CNC machine in 1989. People told my dad he was crazy for doing that. And today, with the support of Haas Automation, we have over 50 CNC machines and about 50 employees that do nothing but focus on manufacturing. So it's a key part of our racing, and it's a key part of building our company out for the future.
Are you all under one roof, or are there various locations now?
Yeah, today we have 3 locations. We have our main 2 facilities in Mooresville and Talbot, and Lakeside Park, and then one in Talbot where my dad's all race team was. So we turned that race shop, who Richard Petty was there last, we turned that into a manufacturing facility. And so 3 facilities.
Right over on the corner over by the Concord Airport.
Yeah, exactly. So 3 facilities there and about 150,000 square feet of space and lots of really cool technology. So it's neat, and it's all because of, you know, NASCAR and the sport and how it's grown and where we are today.
One of the things that was really interesting to me is you and I talked before the season about with this new package, you're going to have to go back and kind of rethink what you were doing with the motors because of all the extra on throttle time, right? And I'm assuming with 4 wins, you're kind of happy about the way things have gone.
Well, you know, last year was an amazing year. I mean, you know, we just had so much success, and then they changed everything. Yeah. So it's kind of like starting over, and we really focused on trying to win the championship. You know, it was something that we hadn't accomplished since 2004, and finally we got back in that championship with Joey Logano and Roger Penske and his group. So we were really proud of that. So we were a little bit behind the 8 ball when we started the season. We came out, kind of got our feet wet. Joey won, Brad won Atlanta, and off to a really good start.
While he was sick as a dog, by the way.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens and how tough he is. But now we're starting to get the second round of those engines because those engines have to run 2 races. So now we're approaching running those again, and we're starting to be able to make upgrades and learn. But, man, at Kansas, the on throttle time was about 90%.
Man.
Qualifying was 100%. So basically anything you can do to increase power and reduce drag, you're going to go faster.
Yeah.
And we're really proud of where we were there, and then to be able to watch the restart. So we're getting our report card. You know, we're 12 races into the season, so we kind of know where we stack up. 14 to the chase, and then, you know, the ultimate goal is try to be in Homestead to compete for that championship again this year. So I like where we're sitting, but it's tougher than ever. I mean, every single horsepower gain now on a plate engine. You know, these engines are 550
Even though we're not doing that now, we're doing tapered spacers.
Tapered space. Sorry about that. That wasn't politically.
It's just habit. I do the same thing.
But, you know, when 1 horsepower gain on a 550 horsepower engine means a lot more than 1 horsepower on a 750 horsepower engine. And you're wide open all the way around. So we're working hard. Everybody at Roush-Yates is doing a great job, and Ford Performance. Everybody there, Mark Rushberg and his team, give us the resources we need, and we like how things are shaping up.
So I'm curious before we break here, when you knew what kind of package you were going to be facing for 2019, and you went back and kind of ran some numbers and looked, did you go, uh-oh, we got some work to do?
Oh yeah. We thought we were going to run a couple taper spacer races, you know, at 550, and then we turned out it's the majority of the races, everything from Darlington up. is a Taper 550 engine. So it was a total changeover, a lot of work, a lot of late nights, glad we have all that CNC equipment because new heads and manifolds and things like that. But it's at the end of the day, it's a competition, and we're fortunate to be able to compete here in NASCAR.
All right, we'll take a quick time out here on MRN Out Loud. Doug Yates is our guest. We'll talk more about the engines and what's ahead and with his work as well as what we've seen so far this season. Stay with us.
Here's your chance to win a set of your very own Hercules tires. Go to HerculesTires.com/MRN. Simply register, and each month we'll give away one set of tires. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading mileage coverage to get you wherever you need to go, no matter where the road takes you. Register now for your chance to win a set of Hercules tires at HerculesTires.com/MRN. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Hi, this is Mike Backley. Join me and the rest of the MRN crew every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. We'll get you up to date with the latest news stories and ready for the upcoming race weekend.
That's what it boils down to. You know, anything can happen in between, and we've seen it the last few years, kind of how crazy things can get.
Hear exclusive interviews, expert analysis, and much more.
Wheel that thing, brother, wheel it! That's why you never give up, guys, never give up.
It's NASCAR Live this Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Welcome back to MRN Out Loud. Doug Yates is our guest here on the program. Joey Meyer on special assignment. I'm Woody Kane. We're talking about engines today, and specifically Roush-Yates Engines. They've been very successful so far on the NASCAR side, but as Doug said, they're all over the world doing all kinds of racing. So you mentioned earlier the All-Star package we saw last year kind of led to what we're going to see, or what we are seeing this year, and that's going to be kind of the case again because NASCAR is now working toward what we're calling the Gen 7 car, and we're going to see some elements of that at the All-Star race. What will be some of the challenges from your end to make this engine match up with that package?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not quite sure. Kudos to Marcus Smith and the guys at Charlotte for changing the rules last year, put on a great race, and ultimately led us down this path of this tapered spacer engine, taper 550 engine with more downforce that put on a great show Saturday night in Kansas.
Yeah.
So
maybe the best mile and a half I've seen in 2 or 3 years.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a fantastic race, and I think that what NASCAR is trying to do with the All-Star race is use it to try new things, looking ahead. Like you said, the Gen 7 car, what does a future car in NASCAR look like? And that's kind of exciting. So what they're trying to do on the engine side is to take the air from the radiator and oil cooler and exit it over the hood. And,
like the scoop sort of that we've seen, but in reverse.
Yeah, like you see on sports cars.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is try to get that hot air out from underneath the hood to lower the dependence on putting tape on the front of the cars and running the engines hotter. So today, really, a lot about this racing is how much tape you can put on the front of the car. You see it during the race. You see it during the pit stops. And that just increases engine temperature and decreases engine life.
Who would have thought tape was going to be so important to success? I mean, it really is.
Absolutely. It's all about aerodynamics. I mean, that's a really critical driver. I mean, we hear it every single week, but the more tape you can put on the front of the car, the lower the drag, the more downforce, and the faster the car goes. So as an engine guy, a lot of our world is not about just making power anymore. It's but how hot can we run the engine? And that's a demand from the teams. And it's a fine line because the hotter you run it, the lower output, it forces you to do some different things on the design of the engine. So what NASCAR is trying to do is to reduce the reliance of tape on the front of the cars. That's what we'll do Saturday night at the All-Star race. We'll see if it works. Now, the downside to that is that hot air comes out and it can get into the cowl, and the engine is taking air in that's hotter than normal. So we'll see the effect of that. On the sports cars, their air comes from the front of the car. So at the bumper line, that's where all the air from a sports car comes.
Okay.
Because they don't run nose to tail like a stock car does.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work so well for our kind of cars, but the same theory of taking that air out, dumping it on the hood, not in the engine bay is going to be put to effect on Saturday night.
I guess you don't have to worry about a defroster when you got all that hot air blowing on your engine, right? Or on your windshield. I mean, it coming out of there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's just a different
Yeah.
it's just a different application. But kudos to NASCAR for looking ahead. I mean, these cars need to be production relevant.
Yeah.
We hear that from Ford all the time. We want a Mustang to look like a Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
We want the tires
Fans
and
do
wheels.
too.
Exactly. When you go to the Rolex and Daytona, it's one of my favorite races of the year.
Yeah, mine
And
too.
Jim Francis race down there. You go in the garage, you look at all the cars. They look like street cars. The Ford GT's there, the Porsche, the Corvette, the BMW, all those cars that are, you can go to your showroom and buy. And I think that's what fans want to see. The cars sometimes, and everybody's opinion could be different about this, but that's the direction that Ford Motor Company wants to go. Toyota, GM is try to get a little bit something more relatable and
some identity, because remember, a lot of people back in the day used to be manufacturer fans rather than team or driver fans, so to speak.
That's exactly right. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a dad that was been around this sport from the early or the mid 60s. And back then, when the first Chevrolet engine that Junior Johnson asked my dad to build, my dad was working at Holman Moody, and Junior said, "Hey, I'd like for you to come up here and work for me," when Holman Moody was kind of shutting down and kind of changing. So my dad moved to North Wilkesboro, went to work for Junior Johnson, and that Chevrolet engine was just a school bus engine. He took it right out of the school bus, a production-based engine, and then he hot rodded it to go racing with.
A school bus engine.
And they'll tell me the story of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Back then, the Fords were dominating. He said that they took that Chevrolet out there, and he said the stands just filled up with Chevy fans.
Wow.
And that's what it was about, is production car racing. And production relevance is a good thing. And I think we'll get back to some of that with the cars, with the look of the cars, even with the engines. We talked about racing that EcoBoost engine. And that's something that, we could see something similar to that in NASCAR in the future. And I know my kids love technology and things like that, and we'll see how that goes. But kudos to NASCAR for looking ahead, and that's what Saturday night and the All-Star race and that format could be used for.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see because we know that's leaning toward what we're going to see in the future. But you mentioned the OEMs, the manufacturers wanting to get back more towards something that looks like the cars on the street. And I think you see that more now with the Camaro front end, the Mustang nose, and all those. It looks a lot like what we see on the street, and that's exciting for the manufacturers, because then people can get that brand loyalty and go buy, well, I saw this car win, I want to go look at one, and that type of thing. And that's where we're headed. As we get to this Gen 7 car, are we going to see them, you think, look even more like the street cars? Because the front ends are there, but I think from about the hood on back, they look very similar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's exciting to be racing a Mustang. That's something new this year that we went through in the off-season as well. So to race the Mustang is something I'm excited about. That's a race car. It's a sporty car. So I think you're right. I mean, NASCAR has a really tough job is trying to match the aero parity between team to team, and then let the teams go work on the aerodynamics, but try to keep it in the box. So to be able to do that, you have to control some parameters, the greenhouse and some other areas of the car. But I think in the future, we will see these cars look more like our Ford Mustang and the Camaro and whatever Toyota decides to come with, and even new manufacturers coming into the sport. So it'll be more friendly for new people to come in, and definitely for the Ford fans and the Mustang fans. I think this is just a preview of things to come.
One of the things before we break that you mentioned is interesting is other manufacturers. And I know part of the focus with the Gen 7 car is to try and encourage other manufacturers to get involved. How will this help?
Yeah, I think it helps the teams in the garage. I mean, I think there's more teams than quality manufacturers today. I mean, some of the guys that would like to compete on a high level don't have that manufacturer support. So I think that at least one new manufacturer, in my opinion, would be good for the garage and just lift everybody up, because there's 36 charter teams, about 40 teams show up. But if more of those teams had manufacturer support, it would definitely help the balance of the garage.
All right, we'll take another quick break here on MRN Out Loud. Come back and talk a little bit more as we get set for the All-Star race coming up at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders, because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
For more than 80 years, Detroit Diesel has been the legendary driving force powering many of the best-known trucks on the road. Through our state-of-the-art Detroit technologies in components and safety systems, we've earned our customers' trust as a reliable business partner dedicated to improving their bottom line. It's no wonder they continue to depend on Detroit to keep them safe and efficient on the road. When you demand it all, demand Detroit.
Veteran drivers and rookie drivers. NASCAR Today Midday keeps you up to date with all your favorites each weekday.
It's a dream come true. A lot of you know the path that I've gone down.
There's a lot of opportunity with the package changes, with the Chevrolet and the work they're putting in. And I know one thing's for sure, it's good to have my name on the top of the Cup car.
Don't miss any of the breaking NASCAR news with NASCAR Today Midday. Only on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Back on MRN Out Loud, chatting with Doug Yates from Roush-Yates Engines, and they've had a very successful season so far on the NASCAR side. 4 wins, 6 poles on the season. But I wanted to get back to something that you mentioned earlier, talking about your dad and the early days. And my gosh, I had no idea he turned a bus engine into a race engine. That's fascinating to me. But last year, he goes into the class of 2018 for the Hall of Fame and got to see that, and you got to experience it with him. I know that had to be just the thrill of a lifetime for you to be able to watch him enjoy that.
Yeah, it was a tough time because he was battling liver cancer, pretty well known. And when he got the news that he was diagnosed with it, he said, "Look, I can't hide from this. People know, and we'll share it and be public about it." So it was kind of going through all that at the same time that he was nominated, and he'd been nominated for the Hall of Fame several years prior. And every year we went down for that ceremony in May, and when they announced it, and he sat there, and when they announced it and didn't call his name, he would always tell me, he said, "Son, the voters got it exactly right. I remember that guy, I raced with him, and he's incredible. He's a legend. He should be in the Hall of Fame." And so every year went through this, and then the final year when they finally called his name, he was so excited.
He was.
It meant, he loved NASCAR. This is his whole life has been about NASCAR racing and competition, and to be inducted in the Hall of Fame was the ultimate honor. And he got that call. Mike Helton announced his name. Robert Yates is in the Hall of Fame, and he turned around, and Winston Kelly was there, and he gave him a big hug, and I'll never forget that moment. And I was sitting right behind him. My mom was next to him. But unfortunately, our motivation through his battle with cancer was, "Dad, I'm not going to give your speech. You need to be there."
Right. People want to hear him.
And he didn't make it that far, but he wrote his speech. He worked with his speech with Dan Zacharias from Ford Motor Company.
Dan's fantastic.
Dale Jarrett gave his speech, which was amazing. The first time I heard it was when he gave it. And my dad died in October 2nd. And it was interesting. He died October 2nd, 9:14 p.m. And October 2nd, 2005 was our last win in the Cup Series with Dale Jarrett at Talladega. And it was interesting to me because, that's just
how about that?
Kind of his life. It has been special. And so he didn't make it, but I took his Hall of Fame jacket there. He got to see his Hall of Fame jacket. He knew he was in Hall of Fame. It completed his life, really. And there's 2 things important to my dad. Number one was his career and what he did in NASCAR and how appreciative he was for the France family. And the second was for people to know he was a Christian, and for his platform to be NASCAR, that he could give back and let people know that he is a Christian. If you believe in God, you can go to heaven, and he'll be very proud of that. And his family, his dad was a Baptist preacher.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He was one of 9 kids, most of all of which were missionaries or ministers, and he was kind of the black sheep racing on Sunday as a Baptist kid.
Yeah,
was not always.
Now his sister is the organist at my church.
Yeah. So we have a great family, and he wanted to make sure that he represented his family and use this platform, NASCAR, to get back. But the Hall of Fame was really special, and it was just made his life complete.
You know, over the years, I've heard many guys like Kyle Petty and Dale Earnhardt Jr. talk about being kids and growing up in the NASCAR garage. And to them, it was just normal. You know, they just see their friends and run around and play and stuff. I wonder what the childhood was like for you, kind of growing up around the racetrack. And was there a moment when you went, wow, this is a pretty big deal? Or were you just kind of a kid going through your normal kid stuff?
Oh, no. It's we were – the first race my mom ever took me to was at North Wilkesboro. We went there for qualifying, and we sat in the grandstands down on the bottom row, and beer cans and chicken bones were literally coming over. And I said, Mom, this is really cool.
and she was looking at you like you were crazy?
Yeah. So we would go to, I remember seeing Dale Jarrett and Kyle Petty, and those guys are a little older than me, but we'd be out in the infield at Charlotte Motor Speedway in our station wagon and Kentucky Fried Chicken box in the back, and hanging out, throwing football in the infield, watching them. And my dad was always in the garage. He worked 24/7.
That's his office.
Yeah, that was his office. The only time I got to hang out with him is when I went to work with him, which ultimately was the greatest gift of ever. I had a lifelong apprenticeship with Robert Yates, and now my partner is Jack Roush. So I've been blessed as far as an engine guy. But the moment that I knew that this was absolutely the coolest thing I've ever seen, and I wanted to be part of NASCAR, was a July race, 1984, when Richard Petty won his 200th win at Daytona, beat Cale Yarborough back to the line before the caution. That was my dad's engine.
Wow.
So my dad built Richard Petty's 199th and 200th win engine, and the best picture that I have and all the pictures we have, the flags and the trophies of my dad's career, was at Daytona when they were having lunch with Ronald Reagan, Richard Petty, and Bobby Allison, which were his two drivers at the time. And I knew that it was a special sport, and you can't script those things. It almost seems
like, wow, there's the president. Yeah,
it was unreal. But I was 16 years old, and following my dad as hard as I could to try to have a career in racing and in NASCAR. And that moment right there, I'll never forget as a kid, and it was special. We even went to the Smithsonian where they had the 43 200th win car in it in Washington D.C. to see that. And several weeks ago, Roger Penske and Tim Cindric and Joe Logano and Ty Gordon invited me and our technical director, Jamie McNaughton, to go on behalf of Roush-Yates Engines. And we spent time with Donald Trump.
When they went to the honor the champion, yeah.
When we were at the White House a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was the neatest thing ever. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you got to respect the President of the United States. And especially after he gave his speech, and he loves NASCAR, what it represents. And he said, hey, guys, you want to go up and see the Lincoln bedroom? So President Trump himself gave us a guided tour
of the places that most people never get to see.
All of his aides and the Secret Service were running around like crazy. He shouldn't do this.
Why
is he doing this? He took us up and on a guided tour went into Abraham Lincoln's bedroom, and he showed us a bed he slept. On the counter was one of 5 original copies of the Gettysburg Address.
Wow.
And Donald Trump came in the room and he gave us a history lesson of how the Civil War started, right out the window, what Abraham Lincoln was going through, what he was thinking about. And it was one of those moments where it was just an unbelievable, proud moment, once in a lifetime.
You feel a part of history.
And it was only accomplished through being part of NASCAR. And that's what I love about NASCAR racing, and Jim France and the France family and Mike Helton and everybody there. They give us an opportunity to do great things, to compete every weekend, and have once-in-a-lifetime experiences like going to the White House.
Yeah, really cool. Now, the only thing I didn't see, I think Kevin Harvick did it when he went up there, but a burnout in the driveway. Joey didn't get to do one, right?
He didn't, but boy, Joey Logano loves burnouts.
I know.
We all know that. No, thank goodness, because the engine guys don't like burnouts. But it was such an amazing day. I mean, they let us just roam around the White House, took some really neat pictures in a lot of the different rooms, and Mike Helton was there, and Mike said,
and these are you got to see some of the places that the normal tour that goes through the White House wouldn't get to see.
Yeah, especially when we all went upstairs and went to the Lincoln bedroom, and we had to leave our cell phones and all that, no pictures. But that's something that I'll never forget. Just like when Ronald Reagan was there when Richard Petty won his 200th win at Daytona. Those are moments that we've got to look at. Sometimes, this is a tough sport. We compete every single week, and unfortunately, we lose more than we win, and we get up on Monday morning and figure out how to go go beat the guy the next week. But to get to do things like that and spend time with people like that was just, it's amazing. And we got to, every once in a while, we got to stop and realize how special this is.
It's a once in a lifetime opportunity that most people would never get an opportunity to see, for sure. Before we wrap up, let's look down the road a little bit. We've talked about the Gen 7 car coming, and that's what NASCAR is working toward. What kinds of things do you see coming in the future? We talked about trying to make the cars look a lot more like what you can go in the showroom and buy, but what kinds of things might fans be surprised to know we might see in the future?
I think that NASCAR is looking ahead faster than I've ever seen them before. I think the manufacturer involvement is great right now. Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota are really involved, and NASCAR is listening to them. And I think that we need more technology in the sport, which is counter to costs and things like that. But kids today are they are on computers and iPhones and can type faster than anybody I've ever seen. So we always have to keep looking at what does our fan look like in the future? What is that balance between competition that we all love to be part of and entertainment? How do we keep our fans entertained? And Saturday night sure was entertaining. And we got to marry those things up and continue to look down the road. And how does that look exciting to the future kids and fans of NASCAR?
One of the coolest things along those lines that I've seen is the new digital dash, and how I wasn't aware of it at first, but they can customize it to make it show them what they want and how they want to see it. But from your perspective, getting that data to the dashboard, how is that another variable that you have to consider, or something else that you have to overcome, because all that stuff has to work right too?
Yeah, I mean, the teams configure the dash and the driver setup and what they like to see and want to see. But things I see in the future is just, heads-up displays. It's something that's on production cars today, and that's something that would really help pit road, for instance. You're going down pit road and be able to, you want to be able to
instead
focus
of looking away. Yeah.
So it's just ideas. But I think the manufacturers, if you listen to them and have them involved, everybody likes to be asked to help and help shape the future of the sport. So it's an exciting time, and you always, it's an honor to be part of it. And I can't wait to see what the next 20 years look like.
I meant to ask you before when we were talking a little bit about it. You said you're headed to Le Mans for the race there that you didn't get to go to last time, but you're going to be able to take the family with you and see some things, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. This year we're going to go over for the race. It'll be my first Le Mans, which is really exciting. My daughter, one of my daughters takes French, so it's pretty cool. So we'll stop in Paris.
She'll be the tour guide then.
She can. And then it's really special. My mom's going to go with us. So
cool.
My mom's going along, my wife, Whitney.
Have any of you been before?
No, it's our first time. We've never been to Paris, and that's something we're really excited about. And we're especially excited about trying to go back and win Le Mans with this Ford GT and Edsel Ford and his group. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of big executives there, because this is the biggest race in the world besides the Daytona 500.
Finally, I wanted to ask you as we wrap it up here, a lot of the race teams do tours and stuff during Charlotte race weeks, especially that week between the All-Star and the 600. Can folks come by Roush-Yates during this time as well?
Yeah, our tours are a little bit more limited than a race team because, obviously technology with engines and things in the shop. But we'd be glad to have
top
people
secret
in
stuff.
I mean, there's definitely, you don't want people in there taking pictures. But we do some high-level tours from time to time, and just follow us on Roush-Yates.com and on my Twitter.
Yeah.
And
that's at Yates Doug.
That is correct.
Yeah.
At Yates Doug. And one cool thing that we do after the race is we give away the valve cover from the race-winning engine.
I saw that.
So you get a piece of the actual history, something that was on the engine, on the car, with Brad Keselowski this past weekend. And Brad will sign it, and I'll sign it, and give that away. So I think that's something special for the fans to be part of and have a part of history. And I know other people in the sport, drivers do that, teams do that, but Roush-Yates does that as well, and we're proud to be able to do that along with Ford Performance.
That's really cool. I did see that. I meant to mention it too. I'm glad you did, because I had it slipped my mind with the rest of the conversation. But to be able to hold in your hand part of a race-winning engine, that's something that really is cool. That's man cave material right there.
Absolutely. I've had plenty of people ask, "Can I get one of those valve covers?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll fix you up." And but it's really reserved. It's really special when you get the one that came off the race-winning engine and connects you to that engine in that moment.
Absolutely. Well, Doug, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming by and getting us up to speed on everything going on with you and Roush-Yates Engines, and continued success for this year.
Thanks, Woody. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right. There you go, guys. Don't forget now, catch us on MRN.com to keep up with all the scheduling information for this weekend. At Charlotte Motor Speedway, we'll have the Gander Outdoors Truck Series race on Friday night, the All-Star race on Saturday night, NASCAR Live every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time with Mike Bagley. Joey Meyer on special assignment. We expect him to be back next week, but check our social media at MRN Radio to find out more there. I'm Woody Kane. That's Doug Yates. We'll see you right back here next week on MRN Out Loud.